try to do something with beats, or I don't know. I'm always at home making weird sounds. There aren't any beats.
Well, that's kind of like the difference between like East Coast and West Coast synthesis.
Definitely, you know, East Coast synthesis, you know, the tradition has got, you know, you use a guitar cable, you know what I mean? But West Coast is Castro, you know what I'm saying? You know, and this is 8th Street, you know, so that's West Coast synthesis style. You can stack them, you know, and you can make weird patches, and so that's why I wanted to get into the modular, because I bought all this box synths from the box stores with the MIDI and the menu diving, and I did all that, and then you know, you do it until you find all the sounds that you can make with it, and then you get bored of it, and then you want to buy another one, and then now the synth companies are trying to get like Apple, where they want to, you know, sell you a product that you don't need every cut, because it's like seasoned for the kids to go to school and then ask their grandma to buy them a synth, you know what I'm saying? So this is the antidote. This is like build your own, you know, this is the kind of synth that you build or you buy, and then you can like multiply the jacks by each other, and then it's like infinite. Like you'll never like make every patch possible in your life, probably not. So that's a cool thing. You will never get bored of it, hopefully. You know what I'm saying? If you get into patching and shit, you can make some weird patches.
So
this is not a weird patch at all.
Can you hurt the equipment if you patch it the wrong way and cause like a short or something?
Nah.
Or?
No. On the old ones, you weren't supposed to patch two outputs together, or eventually something would burn. But these are kind of updated a little bit. They just have resistors on the outputs and diodes. They've been updated by Ken Stone, this guy in Australia, who's really brilliant.
Awesome.
Instead of MIDI, you modulate everything by just sending it the voltages, and the voltages are really the same as if you were to just like take a 9-volt battery in a paperclip or something. Really, that's about how much voltage it is. Really, you could actually take a 9-volt and connect it in here, and it would modulate it the same way it's doing it right now, as long as it's grounded to the same power supply.
Have you ever done MIDI as opposed to voltage control on one of these?
Yeah, I have a MIDI to CV converter at home, and you can play it from a keyboard just like you can any other synth.
What about like wiring it like directly though, like into the PCB?
Doing a hardwired synth? No, I haven't done that. I haven't built one yet because, well, I built a couple kits, like a sandwich, city sandwich. I have a mutable instrument Shruti at my house, which is really rad. My partner built that, but that's actually like my favorite little MIDI tabletop thing, because it's like, it's got an analog filter, but it's got a really rad DCO with a really awesome operating system that the guy wrote himself, and he really excelled at that. And you can, it's all a kit, so you can totally like swap out the filters,
Killer.
and stuff.
So what is that module over here on the bottom left? Is that a sequencer?
This is the programmer sequencer, so it's like analog memory. You can play it like a keyboard. It's not. Or you can step it like a sequencer. You can step it the other way.
Oh, nice.
And then it's got 4 rows of CV, so you can CV 4 different things at once.
What's CV stand for?
Control voltage. So it's like, this whole thing is like, people they tend to get a little bit confused when you start talking about voltages and stuff, but really, like, if you ever patched a mode, it's this basic same stuff. It's like, you know, what's a basic synth layout? It's like an LFO, oscillator or two, a filter, an envelope, and a VCA, right? Well, that's all this is. It's just laid out in a row, basically. And so, if you patch the mode, it's the same thing, but it's already patched. It's just hardwired. Don't feel confused. They just have funky different names, that's all, but it's the same thing. It's like, on the Serge paperface, they call a VCA a gate, but it's the same thing as the VCA on the mode. I don't know. Anything else to say?
So how would you get like a smoother sound instead of this like staccato kind of like bass synthesizer?
Portamento.
You can open up the envelope. So that's the envelope is enveloping the gate. I can let me see. I'd have to change the patch, but I can go. Or if I want to just stop CVing it at all, I can just go like this. One voice, but this thing can do like a bunch of voices if I can like get crafty and like make some more stuff out of it. Or if I have enough cables.
How do you know what you're patching together?
Experience.
Yeah, well, you know, I built it, but it's not like grabbing a guitar and just making some music. It's more, and it's, you know, a less deliberate type of thing. It's more like, oh, I stumbled upon something really cool. I meant to do this, and that's all kind of the whole idea of it. So it's not really always fun to watch somebody.
I'm having fun.
I kind of more just tell people. It's kind of hard to just be like, here, go ahead, do it yourself, because people don't know how to do it yet. But so this thing is okay, so is everybody familiar with the Power Glove, the Nintendo Power Glove?
Yeah.
Alright, so the guy who headed that project, he actually worked for Serge in the early days, and he wrote the Serge manual, which is called the Serge Gold book. His name's Rich Gold. He designed this graphic user interface for the synthesizer, which is the first graphic user interface. He actually went to go work at PARC Xerox in Palo Alto later, where the Apple graphic user interface was developed. But this is a Serge paperface graphic user interface. So these are called a diamond, this symbol, and that's an input. And when you see a slope like that, that's like a CV attenuator. And when you see this little rooftop, that's a main function. All the outputs are in a rectangle or a square. So and then the color system is blue is a CV, red is a pulse, black is an audio or AC coupled. So at first it's a little confusing, but once you own it and you get used to it, it's more intuitive, and you don't use a side of your brain that does reading. You can catch at a glance. So it's kind of a lost art, because you know, once the 80s came around, they stopped doing this, and we're bringing it back.
Bring it back.
If somebody was to do the robot speak class, what would you suggest to be like the first module they build?
I got a couple of examples of some panels on the web page. You know, it depends on what you want to do. If say like you're a guy, you know, you've used a lot of Moogs, I could set you up with like an East Coast style layout. Like I just explained the LFO oscillator thing, the typical one. Or you can go full on West Coast Sergian and get a bunch of slews, and which is also really awesome. So the thing that's cool about Serge is that, so you look at an old Moog, right? And you see these big old panels, these old Moog modulars, big old panel with like 3 knobs, and then the rest of the panel is empty a lot of time, right? Well, and that's an LFO, and that's all it does. Well, these are super versatile. This was designed to be the first compact system before Eurorack, before Frac Rack 2. So like, but Serge is so brilliant, like in compact, he doesn't just make things smaller. What he did was he said, okay, well, if you're gonna be using this space, I would rather have a module that does 5 things, instead of spending all my money on this one module that does one thing and then having to wait next month and buy another one that does another one thing. So he's like, when he came out with the slews, that's not just an LFO, that can also be used as an oscillator. It can also be used as an envelope. It can also do like, there's a whole list of things. Like there's got these things, since they've been like used academically in universities, there's like all these professors who've like written things about all the modules that are just explaining about like 100 things you can do with every module. So for example, the filter, right? This is a 1973 Serge filter. It's been out of production ever since like 1974. Okay, this thing is so rad. That's what we're listening to, right? Rad filter. Not only that, it has a switch on it so you can actually filter control voltages. You can filter LFOs. Not only that, it's also an 808 kick drum. Watch. Slow right now. Sorry, all day. Oh, this one, that's what it is. You can play. Okay. It goes crazy. It's an 808 kick drum. So you just crank the resonance all the way up and you send it a pulse. And then the way to do the decay is you pull the resonance back a little bit. It's rampadocious. The envelope is also an LFO. You can patch it into itself and it cycles. Into LFO. So everything's like super multi-use, you know. That's the Serge way. Anybody got any questions or anything?
So how much does it cost? Can you still even buy these modules, or do you have to build them yourself? Or
so what we're offering at the workshop in Robot Speak is I'll make you a panel like this. If we got a price list on my website with every module's price, and then you plan out a panel with all the modules you want, and then I'll etch you a panel, and then we sell you the PC boards already populated and tested. They're already built and tested, so all you do is wire it. And if you were to do that and build a whole one of these, it would cost you about $1,400 bucks, 13, 14. If you wanted to just have me build it for you, it would cost about 1,700 bucks. So this is priced to, this is competitive with Eurorack, but like I said, if you were to want to go buy a Serge panel this size with some of these same modules from the guys in Wisconsin who build it, they would charge you about $4 grand because they have about 30 years under their belt in building, and they do good work, but I don't think synths have to cost $4 grand, and I'm just all about like the old school way of like trying to make it available for people and easier for people to get.